Welcome to Live at FWCS. Thanks for joining us today for this makeup session of the May 9th Curriculum Collaborators meeting. My name is Matt Brandenberger and I am one of the District Technology Coordinators. I work with the Snider family of schools.
My name is Shannon Quigley and I am a District Technology Coordinator that works with the North Side schools. You may also work with our colleague Steve Armstrong, who works with the Wayne family of schools, or Rick Herber, who works with the Northrop schools, and Diana Fulton, who works with Southside families.
So today, what our outcomes are that we really want to make sure that we are hitting are, first of all, are the why we're making some of these changes to the delivery of the content. We also want to show you the what, and what we mean by that is what are the new tools that are available in FWCS, and those include three that we're going to look at in Google Drive, Kami, and Pear Deck. And then third, we want to see just a big picture overview of how this process will work once you begin writing. So those are really our three outcomes that we're going to focus on today. Shannon's going to dive into the first one here with the why.
So we're going to go ahead and start with the why, and one of the things that when we were considering curriculum writing for this summer is we wanted to provide a change for teachers and students in the way that they access the curriculum, in the way that student resources are presented for teachers, just in that vision of making planning and the delivery of content more seamless. So today we're actually going to show you some of the LMS pages that we're going to be using during curriculum collaboration, where we're going to place the content that you create during the writing process. Okay, these are really big picture views of our end goal, and the end goal is to provide teachers with one location to access their lesson plans and all of their student resources without downloading documents, uploading, re-downloading, etc. That longer process that we had last year, this is really going to streamline that from that experience that they had. So today we're really going to dive into what those pages look like. So I'm going to take us out to the test site. Okay, and where we are right now, this is a sample of what you'll be working with this summer when you're curriculum writing. So the first page that you see is over here on our left-hand panel. This is showing you that grade 5, unit 1. So for each unit, within each unit, we're going to have it broken down the same way as we did last year with lessons. But this year there's going to be a lesson page for teachers and a lesson page for students. So some of the things that you'll find on the teacher page are the first content block is going to give teachers a personal copy of the lesson plan. And what this copy of the lesson plan is going to allow teachers to do is last year we didn't have a way for people to make their own annotations or their own notes about how a lesson went without printing that copy. What this program that we have called Kami is going to do is when a teacher comes to this page and clicks on the link, it's going to open a Kami document of the lesson plan that people can annotate or make notes on. So if you're teaching a lesson and you want to make a note about something you have to prepare, or if you taught a lesson and you want to remember for next year that something didn't go the way you expected, you could make notes on the side using comments, or you could highlight important information. Any note that you want to make about the lesson is stored here for you. This is your own personal copy. Nobody else can see those annotations. It's really personal to the teacher. The second way teachers can view the lesson plan is if they really just need to see what's going to happen that day in class, they can just scroll down and there will be an embedded copy of that lesson. So anybody who comes into the room or is looking for what's happening that day can easily pull up the lesson plan and use the pop-out if they want to see it larger or print that document without having that step of downloading a copy to a personal location. A couple other features on the teacher page are the teacher lesson resource block, and what this block is going to be for is that any document that you think teachers will need to complete the lesson, they can easily find here. So things that you might find in the teacher lesson resources are observation checklists, PowerPoints that might support the lesson, rubrics, really anything that are teacher specific that students don't need. Okay? Right below that is a block for student lesson resources. So the things that writers are going to put in these blocks are things that students will need to complete the lesson. So if that's a a chart that they need to fill out, something that's a cut and paste activity, or a writing paper that teachers may need to print copies of, they can easily access all of those documents through the student lesson resources. These are things that we would consider non-digital resources. So again, these aren't things that they're going to complete on the LMS. These are things that the teacher would prepare ahead of time for that lesson. I'm going to go ahead and pop over to the student page so you can get a feel for what that looks like. One of the changes this year is that we want to start providing students with activities that are built into the LMS that are easy for teachers to grab and take to their class. Our hope for this is that it will reduce teacher planning time of creating content on the LMS, but also give some equitable opportunity for all students to have some digital content within their classes. So on this block we have a copy, that same program that we saw for teachers to annotate, students will be able to use. So in this particular lesson they had a reading passage that they needed to annotate. They can click on this link and get a personal copy of that reading passage that they could highlight or make notes or do any directions that the teacher might request from them. This again is an embedded version of that same reading passage that we have up here in the CAMI block. Writers might also include polls that they think might be relevant to that activity, or different student resources or web links that they might need for that lesson. We also have an embedded video. These won't look as continuous throughout lessons because it really is up to the writers of what digital content they want to provide for that lesson. And from this block, we're going to be sharing these with teachers back on that teacher page. So I'm going to head back over to the teacher page and show you the last block that's going to be on all of those. And that is a link to that student lesson resource page. So if there are things on the page that they want their students to have access to, all they have to do is click this link and it makes a copy of those shared resources for the students. Teachers just choose which class they want that to land on, and then all of the content that we just looked at will be available for them and their students. They can delete or add content blocks once they have their own personal copy of it. So we're hoping that's going to be a really powerful component of the new LMS changes. One thing that we want you to keep in mind is that we're truly trying to create blended learning environments for teachers and students. So we want to be mindful that you are aware that not every resource that you create needs to be digital. We really want you to be aware of what content is digital, and if it's more meaningful that way, or if it's something better that's a traditional format, please continue to do that. We do have some rough guidelines for how much time we anticipate students should spend on digital content. These are not hard, fast expectations, but just something to keep in mind that in elementary, probably not more than 25% of their day should be spent on digital content. Middle school, more around 50%, and high school around 75%. Okay, so as you're creating resources, just kind of use some of the tools that we have available for you that we'll show you at the end to help you evaluate whether that's the best opportunity. Okay, we're going to head back over to our presentation.
So Shannon did a great job of kind of giving you the why. That was the overview, kind of looking at this almost from a backwards planning type of view. We wanted to give you kind of what the end game looks like. Now we want to kind of dive into the what. What are the tools that are going to be useful to us as we get there? So in order to support students and teachers with the new changes in curriculum, we worked with the curriculum team to curate a list of resources that you can use as writers to help support student learning. So this is a much smaller list than last year when we had writers just coming up with some really good programs, but there was not a guided list to kind of keep them contained within. So we ended up having a multitude of programs, which in some cases frustrated teachers because they had to learn more about the tech and had less time to focus really on the content. So we'll look more closely at this list that I'm talking about after a bit, but just kind of wanted to set that up. We are going to focus though on 3 new resources that we're bringing to teachers and to students here in FWCS this coming school year that will really help make tech integration more meaningful. So first of all, just to point out as we begin, the browser of choice that we really want to use is the Google Chrome browser. This is the default browser in the district. So for many of you, this may not be a change, but if you're still using Microsoft Edge or Firefox or any other browser, would just encourage you to kind of start transitioning, because many of the things that we are going to be doing will just work so much better within Google Chrome, and it really is the best browser for us to use at this point. So new to you this year is that our FWCS accounts that are obviously tied to 365 are now also going to be connected to Google. This does not mean that we are moving to Google in our district. We're actually just adding Google as an option. Emails are still going to remain in Outlook, and you will have continued access to all the 365 tools as well. However, the reason we're adding Google is that it provides many educational tools that work more seamlessly within our LMS, within PowerSchool Learning, and it allows us to embed and share activities in an easier way. And it also just integrates with some of the third-party tools that we're rolling out this year. We'll look at a couple of those here in a little bit. So today we want to show you a quick video, and the way you'll access this video is just from our LMS page. And as Shannon pulls that up for us here, it'll be on the right side, and there will be a link to a video, a Google Drive video. It's a few minutes long, and it'll just kind of walk you through the basics of this. So what we're going to ask you to do at this time is pause the video that you're watching now and go to that Google Drive video, and then join up with us after you're done watching it, and we'll continue. Okay, so hopefully you watched that video and were able to kind of get an overview. There really are many things that you can do in the Google environment, but we're not going to spend a whole lot of time there today. We just wanted you really to understand that Google is the important component. It's kind of the linchpin that holds the other apps together that we're going to be talking about, and just opens up kind of a whole new world to us.
Okay, we're going to talk about another new tool that we have in addition to the Google tools for education, and that is called Kami. Kami is that PDF annotator that we showed you earlier when we looked at the teacher lesson plans. And it's really going to give a lot of powerful tools for both teachers and students. So I know we just watched a video, but we're going to ask you to go back to that page to just watch another quick video on Kami. So again, if you click on the video right below Google Drive video, there's going to be a quick 3-minute video around Kami, and really that's going to give you a great overview of what tools are offered through this program. So go ahead and pause again, click on the Kami video, and then when you're done, head back over to the makeup session. Okay, now that you've seen some of the features of what Kami has to offer, we're just going to go review a couple of the things that you learned in that video. The first thing is that you already have a Kami account through your FWCS email. So when you go to the first time to access Kami, you'll go to www.kamiapp.com and click sign in, and when you get to sign in, we're going to be using the login or sign up with Google. This is a little bit of a change. Usually we're used to seeing that Microsoft 365 login, but for some of these programs that we're using, we're going to have to get kind of used to using that sign up with Google. So for this program, we will sign up with our Google account, and you'll really just be logging in. So once you've verified your credentials, this is the landing page that you'll land on each time you open up Kami. The first option at the top is open from Google Drive. So if you have things saved on your Google Drive, you can pull them up to eventually share with students or to access for yourself. You also have access to all of your Microsoft options through the open from computer. So if you open from your computer, you access your file window, and you can navigate to the place where you have a document stored that you want to pull into Kami. The third option is the Google Classroom, and we have a red X over it because we just want you to know that we are not going, even though we're using Google tools, Google Classroom will not be a part of that rollout. And the reason being is that we have an LMS, a learning management system, PowerSchool Learning, that has a lot of features that are the same as Google Classroom or even enhanced. So we really feel like we're using the powerful or more powerful program through PowerSchool Learning, thus eliminating the need for Google Classroom. Finally, there is a blank page option, so if you just wanted to open a blank page and use some of the annotation tools, you could do that as well. A couple of the features that we want to point out to you specifically as curriculum collaborators is up at the top above Open from Google Drive. You'll see that there's 3 options, and the one we think will be really powerful for you is the Split and Merge tool. This is going to allow you to take a PDF document that you have that you want to pull certain pages out of. So as a curriculum writer, you found a reading passage, but you only want pages 97 and 98 out of chapter 1. You can open that document, pull out the 2 pages that you need, and create a new PDF that you can use. This would be great for eliminating something that has an answer key or has questions that you don't feel are relevant. It really gives you a tool to create a new document. The reverse of that up at the top is the Merge tool, which you can do the same thing. If you have 2 PDFs that both have content that you think is relevant, so 2 articles on Australia and you want 2 different features, you can put both PDFs in and merge them into one document to make something new that you can use. The final thing I want to show you is that on our curriculum writing page, there's going to be a homework assignment for you, and that is really going to be getting you logged into your Kami account and gives you a lot of practice with the tools that are available through Kami. So you'll open up this document, you'll use your Google sign-in, and once you're there, you'll just follow the instructions for each of these steps that give you access to these tools. So that is kind of an overview of Kami. You can see here on the curriculum writing page, here's a screenshot of where the homework is located. If you click on the blue link, it will open that for you and then give you another Kami resource. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and move right into another tool that we're adding this year, which is called Pear Deck. Pear Deck is a tool that is created through Google Slides, and it's really a student engagement tool. It can be used for formative assessments in class or just active engagement within your lesson. You can kind of think of Pear Deck, I've heard people say it as PowerPoint on steroids, is where you've taken it from just being content and now students are interacting with what else you're presenting. So the tool or avenue that you use to access Pear Deck is Google Slides, which is very similar to PowerPoint. So we're going to give you a chance to actually try out a Pear Deck on your own. So again, this is not a video, but it is in that video link box. So I'm just going to go out of my Pear Deck here for a second, my Pear Deck slide, and jump back over to this makeup session page. And right here, this 3rd link below says Pear Deck Practice. And before we tell you too much about what Pear Deck does, we wanted to give you an experience with Pear Deck. So if you click on your Pear Deck Practice, you may need to be logged into your Google account to do this. So if you have not gone through that step of logging into a Google account, you may need to go back and watch that Google Drive video to get access to this. But once you're logged in, or you can always go back and do this later, you'll get some access to questions that we've created. Now normally Pear Deck is a live presentation, so teachers control when students are answering and what they see. But right now I'm showing you on my screen, I have just set this Pear Deck, this particular one, as a homework assignment so kids can go through it at their own speed. But I did that so that you just have a chance to use some of the tools from a student perspective. So this is the drawing tool where you can draw or annotate on the screen. This is a matching question, so a teacher could throw this up mid-lesson to kind of get a quick check of where students are, see if they're ready to move on to the next level of content. You also have some drag and drop slides, so for this statement is true or false, obviously true here for this particular slide, but you can make your own call on that when you do this. And then the final is a constructed response answer. When you watch the video in a second, you're going to see what teachers are seeing as this is going on. So if you were doing this live, you would be able to pull up student examples and have discourse over what's happening in the classroom. So when you're done doing your practice session here, you're going to go right down, and the next thing we're going to ask you to do to get a better feel for the way Pear Deck really works is you're going to go to this Pear Deck video and watch an overview of Pear Deck. Okay, so I'm going to, so we tried one, we're on the video. Okay, so we tried one, we're on the video. Okay, so we tried one, we're on the video. Okay, so we tried one, we're on the video. Okay, so we tried one, we're on the video. Okay, so we tried one, we're on the video. Okay, so we tried one, we're on the video. Okay, so we tried one, we're on the video. Okay, so we tried one, we're on the video. Okay, so we tried one, we're on the video. Okay, so we tried one, we're on the video. Okay, so we tried one, we're on the video. Okay, so we tried one, we're on the video. Okay, so we tried one, we're on the video. Okay, so we tried one, we're on the video. Okay, so we tried one, we're on the video. Okay, so we tried one, we're on the video. Okay, so we tried one, we're on the video. Okay, so we tried one, we're on the video. Okay, so we tried one, we're on the video. Okay, so we tried one, we're on the video. Okay, so we tried one, we're on the video. Okay, so we tried one, we're on the video. Okay, so we tried one, we're on the video. Okay, so we tried one, we're on the video. Okay, so we tried one, we're on the video. Okay, so we tried one, we're on the video. Okay, so we Okay, now that you've finished watching that Pear Deck video, we do have resources for Pear Deck also on our technology resource page that you can access. There is resources on how to set up a Pear Deck, how to create one, and really more of what it's about. We're also going to be asking you for part of your homework is to create one. So you'll do that through Google Slides, and there are directions on the curriculum writing resource page for how you can do that. But then there's a discussion board where you can simply share a link to your Pear Deck so that other people could view it. This is something you can try out now and use, but it's something to think about how you can incorporate that into some of your curriculum lessons this summer. Okay.
All right, so Shannon did a great job of kind of going over two of those apps that we're going to really be using a lot through the curriculum writing process and moving forward in FWCS, again, in Kami and Pear Deck, and those are used because of the power of Google allowing us to do so. But those are not the only tools that we envision you will want to use during curriculum writing. In fact, there's a lot of other tools. And as I mentioned earlier, last year there was a lot of tools that frustrated teachers. So what we did is we worked on creating this site that is called the Curriculum Collaboration Digital Tools site. And so on here you'll see just a variety of categories kind of divided up on this home page. At the very top, though, you can access each of those pages across the top by going to Home, Multimedia Presentations, so on and so forth. So let me just click on the Multimedia Presentations link and pull up that one. So here you'll see it gives you the list of the 5 that we've really narrowed it down to. Google Slides and Pear Deck being the ones we've talked about, Screencastify, and then of course PowerPoint, and Sway, which is also a Microsoft product. So if I scroll down a little bit further, you'll see that Google Slides kind of gives a short description and then gives you even some links on how you can get started using it and even some ideas for the classroom. So each of these apps have those couple links to kind of help you understand better what they are and when they might be used. So as a writer, if you were designing a lesson and you said, I want to have some sort of presentation tool in here, well, you have 5 to pick from. So you would just come to here, pick one of those, and then we'll expect that our teachers will be able to use any of those. Now, the example that I want to use also would be like Prezi, which is a fairly common one that is not on the list. That does not mean that teachers in the classroom are forbidden from using Prezi, but we just wanted to narrow the list down to the most common ones that we'll want teachers to feel most comfortable with. But by all means, if you're a teacher in your classroom and you feel really comfortable with Prezi and the activity calls for a presentation, go ahead and teach your kids how to use Prezi. That's great. We just don't want to see it in the curriculum writing because then that can just, again, cause way too many extras that we get frustrated with. So another one is the infographics. So we have Google Slides, Google Drawings, PowerPoint, and Adobe Spark. So these are, again, tools that could be used there. So each of those categories, you can scroll through those on your own time and kind of look through the rest of those. But I did want to mention under the more, the additional resources. We did put a couple things on here that we thought might be useful for you as writers. First of all, all your free time you have at the end of the year, all right? But you could check out some of these ed tech blogs that are very popular in terms of what leaders in the field of education technology are using. You might come up with some really good ideas for lessons that you might want to use. Over on the right-hand side is the teacher resource and templates section, and these are actually Google Docs that we have pulled that are just samples for you. So for instance, if you had a lesson and you wanted to have a KWL chart, instead of creating your own, here you could just grab this, download it, and stick it into your lesson. So these will be for you as writers, hopefully as some helpful tools, and we can add more stuff to this section as well. And just a side note, where it says Ditch That Textbook at the bottom, that's just the name of a site that a guy by the name of Matt Miller, a very talented guy, has. We are not advocating for anybody to ditch any textbooks. That is just kind of his little slogan, his whole story about being tied to the textbook and trying to get away from that and adding more technology tools. But as Shannon mentioned earlier, we're a blended learning model. We want to see technology used, but we don't want to see technology exclusively used. So hopefully that's kind of a good overview. Again, a piece of your homework will be to go through this site, and I would really encourage you to check out many of the different options you have to kind of familiarize yourself with each of these tools. You don't have to be an expert in them, but know that they could be used for different parts of your writing process, so that when it comes time to do your writing in June, you'll be able to start using some of these. All right, so the last section we're going to start talking about is the how. So we've again kind of gone backwards from showing you the big picture, then talking about the tools. Now we want to say, how does this all come together? How is this going to work for us in our environment? So what I'll start out by doing is showing you kind of the two different places where you're going to be doing your writing. If you have written in the past, doing the curriculum last year, or even as a teacher, if you've accessed curriculum documents, you know that they were written in SharePoint. SharePoint's a shared folder on the for Microsoft documents, and so you and your team will use this folder to work from when you are creating lesson plans, because the lesson plan template is in a Word document. Any student documents that are Word or PowerPoint or any other Microsoft-based tools will go in SharePoint. That piece does not change. So again, there was all the clicking to get to those SharePoint documents. That's why we're bringing Google in. So the other option will be if you create a document using a Google tool, and that would include Pear Deck or any of the Google Drive apps such as Docs or Slides or any of those, you will be putting those into a Google shared drive. So both of these areas really work essentially the same to give you the ability to collaborate, to create, and to save your work in these separate locations. It just depends on what tool you're using for the lesson you're creating. In your writing resources, we have an overview of the tools that are available for each platform and provide some information on why you may select one resource over the other. So you have options between both SharePoint and Google Drive. After you've followed the curriculum collaborator process, which has been outlined for you already by curriculum, and you've created your lessons and resources and you submit them to the tuner for revisions, the tuner will access your work from the SharePoint and Google Drive work folders. So going back a slide again, that's where the collaborators will go in and they'll see that work in one of those two locations. After you're done revising, so once the whole process is completed and your tuner has signed off, you'll see then that we're going to have what's called a Google Shared Drive. This is the production folder then. There was the work folder where both the SharePoint and the Google Drive work folders were, but then they're all eventually going to end up in one Google Shared Drive, one production Google Shared Drive folder. So I know this gets a little complicated and it will come together as we start to meet together. We'll be providing more information once curriculum writing starts. We will be there as technology coordinators to kind of assist you, and you'll be able to kind of see how this whole process works together. But all you really need to know as writers is that you will be either putting your stuff into the SharePoint folder if it's a Microsoft product, or into the Google Shared Drive folder if it is a Google product. And then from there, it'll be the technology person in your group who's been assigned to kind of move those into the production folder. So Shannon, I'll bring you in as well. Is there anything else that you would want to add to this?
Well, just the one thing that Matt would just said at the end is that we are going to ask that not everybody is going to have to move to this Google folder at the end. So if you just felt overwhelmed by what you just heard, just know that this production folder is for that tuner to really, or that end person to be really using. So if that's something that you feel like you would be great at doing or you're comfortable with technology, there is an exit slip that, even though you're watching this delayed, we'd like you to fill out, because that just gives us an idea of who maybe would want to do that role. We'll obviously be there to help you and support you as that's going, so it really is not as difficult as it probably feels right now.
Yeah, I always say the first time I heard it, it was kind of foggy, and the more I've worked with it, it's becoming more and more crystal clear. And by the time we actually start doing it in June, I'm confident that it'll all make sense for us.
And really, once everything has been created for your curriculum, so you see on the screen right now, this is what your Google Drive will look like. It will have PDF copies of the lesson plans and documents. And this is just going to be a super easy process for the person to move over, because the links will be created through this Google Drive. So really, when they get over here to the teacher page, these content blocks where it says personal copy of the lesson plan will be created for them. All they'll need to do is change out the links. So that's just kind of a FYI that you don't have to create these pages from scratch. We do have templates built. You just will be responsible for moving the documents that you've created with your team to those pages, using links or using embedding codes to do that. And again, we'll train on how to do that, so you'll feel comfortable when we get there. The last thing we're just going to kind of talk about in regards to this workflow is that some of you are new to curriculum writing and haven't worked through this process before. So if you haven't, not all buildings use SharePoint, or no one has really used Google Team Drive before, because we're just opening it up. We do have a document, this workflow, that is really detailed out for you. So you'll have this available to you on the screen. This workflow is detailed, so you can go step by step. It shows you how to access SharePoint, how to access your Google Drive, and walks you through those steps very detailed. So all of these things are going to be available for you as a curriculum collaborator.
And just showing you where those things will be available, we have a resource page that we want to show you within the slides. Here, let me go back to the slides, right?
Oh.
We have two different ones, actually. So first of all, the technology resource LMS page, I guess that's the one Shannon was pulling up there. So this is what everybody has access to. As a teacher in the district, you can get to that by going to, yep, and we'll go ahead and show the pages. So this is just our, again, technology resource page that we update. This has not just stuff for curriculum writers, but stuff for every teacher. So you'll see Apple Classroom, down the side, Clever Resources. There's Kami and Pear Deck as well. So Power School Learning, obviously, like all of the things that we're doing in technology, we're constantly adding things to this page. So that's one thing. The other resource that we have for you is on the curriculum writing page that we've already referenced already, and you know about. We've added a whole section of resources there with hyperlinks that will pull up those documents that you'll be able to view as well. So please take advantage of looking at those as you do your homework. There on the right-hand side, you see the homework and the exit slip listed. But as you go through those homework pieces, if you get stuck on something, please use the resources that we've provided. We know this is a lot of information in a short amount of time, so we're really relying on you to be able to go in and access some of these documents that we've created, videos that we've put together to help you really gain a better understanding. And for those that did attend the meeting, I have had a couple conversations with teachers who did walk away from the meeting, and that first initial thought was, oh my goodness, this is overwhelming. But now they're feeling a whole lot better about it. And after diving into it and going through the homework, it's starting to make more and more sense. So we're really excited about all this stuff. We think it's going to be incredible to see what you as curriculum writers do with it, to put it together, to eventually bring to our teachers, and then ultimately to our students. This digital learning piece really will make a difference.
One thing to note is if you're looking at that curriculum writing technology resource page, and we have some embedded documents with those links, those are tied to your Google account. So if you click on them and you get an error message, please know that you need to go back to that Google Drive video and watch how to log in and get your account set up. And then when you re-log in or refresh your curriculum writing page, you'll be able to see those documents. So, and it has to be your FWCS Gmail, or not Gmail, but account, because I've gotten a lot of requests for personal accounts access, and we're not going to approve those. We're just really going to limit this to FWCS credentials. So just kind of an FYI for you there. Just a couple things we want to note at the end. During the live sessions, this was kind of a chance for questions and answers, and obviously we can't do that through this medium with you today, but we do have some live sessions that we'll be offering that you can participate in depending on when you're watching this. But those will be saved and loaded, so even if you missed the live version, you can have access to questions that people were asking and some of our hints and tips. You can also reach out to your district technology coordinator, who'd be happy to help you or support you as you're kind of processing all of this information.
And the last thing we want to make sure that we take the opportunity to just plug our Ignite conference. We are really excited about that coming up on July 16th. It will be at Northside High School, and we're going to have all kinds of really great stuff for you. Some of the new tools that we're introducing, there will be presentations on those. We're going to have a keynote speaker, a gentleman by the name of Barrington Irvin, who is going to have a great message for us, and so we just cannot wait. Please register today. There is a link here. I believe it is a bit.ly Ignite FWCS is how you can get there, but there are links here again in the curriculum writing section that you can get there through our slide deck. So you do have access to this slide deck as well, so as you're watching it, each of these live links that we have, you'll be able to click on as well. Anything else, Shannon?
I think that's it. So just remember to fill in that exit slip so we know that you watched this video, and that will also give you a place to ask any specific questions, and we can reach out to you as well. So thank you again for tuning in, and we're looking forward to seeing you on June 4th.
Thanks a lot.